Hello and welcome students to the commerce world. Today is the end of your eagerness to study online. Students, you all are familiar with me as I was teaching you in standard 10th in math subject 2 chapters of statistics based. So you all are familiar with me, so no need to introduce myself. Now, in this year, you'll be studying statistics as a subject, and I'll be taking your two practical subjects, that is accountancy and statistics, for class 11th and class 12th. These both subjects are very interesting, totally practical subjects and scoring subjects to score good marks and good percentage in board examination. So, without wasting much time, let's move on with the course of statistics. Today, I'll be explaining a very short part of the chapter 1, that is collection of data. Students, you are all having the textbooks already provided from the school. So, if possible, while referring the video lecture, do keep your textbook side by side so that you can easily understand the concept, whatever is being taught to you. Okay. So now moving on with the first chapter, that is chapter number 1, as you can see on the board, that is collection of data. This chapter of statistics, first chapter, that is totally theoretical chapter. The basic information about the sources of data, types of data, what is the meaning of statistics, these all from where it has been origin and growth of statistics, the basic information of statistics has been provided in this chapter. So this first chapter is totally theory chapter, and then afterwards from second chapter onwards practical sums will be starting. Okay. Now I have written few notes on the board, as you can see. If possible, you write down those notes in your notebooks so that at the time of examination you can refer just to these notes. You don't have to refer the entire chapter from the textbook. Okay. Now, first one, that is topic that is given in your textbook, that is origin and growth of statistics. Now, from where this word statistics has arisen? Now, in history, in standard 10th also you have studied, that is Abul Fazl has written the book, that is Ain Akbari, in the 16th century. So, from there also he has mentioned the statistical system for revenue and administrative system in the Mughal Empire. So from the time of Mughal emperor rule also, the statistics was being utilized. Okay, so its origin is very from the early age of the 15th or 16th century. Now, the first point that you can see, that is the German word statistic was first used by Gottfried H.N. Wall in 1749 for analysis of data about state. It means when this firstly the word statistic has arisen, and who was the first person to utilize the word statistic? Okay, that was the person, that is German word. If the statistic is a German word, and it was utilized by the person, that is Gottfried H.N. Wall in the year 1749 for analysis of data about state. It means you are knowing very well in statistics, we are collecting the data, we are analyzing the data, and then afterwards from the analysis we are coming to the conclusion or interpretation. So that is basically what about statistics. So these points whichever I have written on the board, this can be asked in short answers or in MCQ. So these are very important points. Now the second one that I have written, that is it was formally introduced in Encyclopedia Britannica in 1797. It means this word statistic that was also used or introduced in Encyclopedia. You are very much familiar what is Encyclopedia Britannica. So in the year 1797 it was utilized. It means the word statistic was formally introduced in Encyclopedia Britannica in the year 1797. It means from history itself, statistic is very much useful in each and every field of life. Now the next point, that is Carl Pearson was the founder of mathematical statistics. Initially in the Mughal emperor rule or during the 16th and 17th century, statistics was utilized for the revenue and administrative system to analyze the statistical data. But Cal Pearson was the founder of mathematical statistics that we are studying at present. So he is also known, Fisher is well known for as father of statistics. These are the two statisticians, that is Carl Pearson and Fisher's. In the future, in class 11th and 12th, you will be studying few of the methods that has been developed by these two statisticians in the practical sums. So these are very important names that you have to remember, and in future also you will be in touch with these two statisticians. So Carl Pearson was the founder of mathematical statistics. This can be asked in MCQ as well as in short answers. Same way, Fisher is well known, is the name of the statistician. Fisher is well known as father of statistics. It can be asked who is known as the father of statistics, and the answer would come, that is Fisher is known as the father of statistics. It means the original person who has originated the word statistics and made the world known what is statistics, that was Fisher. So he is known as the father of statistics. Now, after understanding the origin of which persons are involved in developing of statistics, let us move on to know what is the meaning of statistics. It is given by one of the statisticians, that is statistics. Already in your textbook in bold and bold letters, this definition has been written. That is, statistics is the science which deals with the collection, analysis and interpretation of numerical data. It means whatever the numerical data you are getting, it is first of all the collection of data. That collection of data is to be analyzed. First process what it comes, to collect the data. The second one, to analyze, to group it and then to analyze, and then to interpret of the numerical data. It means to come to conclusion and for interpretation of the numerical data. Here three important terms are important. That is, first one to collect, second one to analyze, and the third one, that is to interpret. It means statistics is the science. It is one kind of science which deals with collection. First process is to collect the data, second one to analyze the data to come to conclusions, and the third one, that is to interpret, to come to conclusions from the numerical data. So these three words are important in this definition, that is collection, analysis and interpretation. Again repeating the definition, that is statistics is the science which deals with the collection, analysis and interpretation of numerical data. Okay, now the few terminologies of statistics that we need to study, because later on in the further chapters also you will be coming in touch with these terms. The first one, that is population. Population, and the next one, that is sample. Now what is population and what is sample? Population means the total number of units in the population is called size of population. Suppose there are 700 workers working in a factory, then that total 700 workers, that becomes the population of that factory. Okay, and from that, if suppose I select a few number of persons, suppose 100 workers I select to collect the data about their standard of living, or about their food habits, or about their language or their culture, then that 100 workers which I have selected out of the total population, that is 700, that becomes your sample. Okay. So population is always denoted by capital A. Students, you have to remember this, that population is always denoted by capital N, and sample is always denoted by small n. Even simple routine examples from your life also I can give it to you. Suppose you are purchasing wheat or any kind of grains, then initially when you go to purchase, you ask for sample. It means a small amount or handful of wheat is given to you in order to survey the type or the quality of the wheat. Right, and whenever that is called a sample, and when you purchase in lot that wheat, seeing the sample, then that becomes your population. Means entire wheat buckets that you entire wheat bags that you are purchasing, that becomes your population. In the same way, when you go in the laboratory for blood testing, then naturally they will not take your entire blood for testing. They will take a small sample of it in order to test what kind of disease or what infection you has been occurred to you. So that is also an example of sample. So from the sample we can get the idea about the whole population. So sample size is very important. On the basis of any particular criteria, the sample is being selected. Suppose in your class there are 100 students, and out of that 100 students, randomly I am selecting 10 students in order to get the idea about the level or intellectual level of the students. Then that 10 students becomes your sample, and total 100 students of your class, that becomes your population. So I hope so with a few examples the two topics are clear, that is population and sample. Again repeating, that is population is denoted by capital N and the sample is denoted by small n. Now moving on to the next two topics, that is qualitative variable and quantitative variable. From the word itself it is understood what is qualitative and what is quantitative. Quantitative is rated with numeric figures and qualitative is rated with attributes which cannot be measured in numbers. Okay, so here it is written examples, that is gender of workers, education level. Gender of workers, it means how many are male and how many are females. So gender of workers and education level, these are called qualitative variables. These are called attributes. And quantitative variables means monthly income of workers, their age, etc. That can be measured in numbers. So these all factors are measured in numbers, that's why they are called quantitative variables. Even we can say qualitative variable, that is the honesty, sincerity, punctuality of the workers in the factory. Then these terminologies cannot be measured in numbers. That's why they are coming in the category of qualitative variables. So these are the two integrated, that is qualitative variable and quantitative variable. Now after understanding the origin, meaning of statistics, then afterwards population, sample, qualitative variable and quantitative variable, let us move on to the main topic of this chapter, that is types of data. In that, the first one, that is primary data. Now primary data means what? First of all, let us read on the board and then afterwards I'll explain. Data collected by any authorized agency for first time. It means any of the data which is collected for the first time by any of the authorized agency or any of the investigator, then it is called the primary data. Right? It means it is, for example, it is given over here, that is NSSO. Now what is the full form? Already it is given in your textbook if you refer it. That is National Sample Survey Organization. This is one of the organization that is doing the survey at national level, and whatever the data they are collecting at the national level, that is called primary data. They are doing the survey at national level in order to collect the data of any particular field. In the same way, the population census of India, whatever the death rates or birth rates that is recorded in the Office of the Registrar General of India, New Delhi, these are all the examples of primary data. These are the basic data that is originally collected by doing the survey of the whole population. Suppose you are knowing population census is being calculated every 10 years. So you might have came to know that at your home many of the government officers are coming and they are collecting the data from door to door. So that is an example of primary data, the basic data, original data on which you can trust. So that is called the primary data. Now after that, the next point is secondary data. You can easily understand from the terms, that is primary data and secondary data. Now secondary data itself is not collecting the data. They are just utilizing the data that has been collected by the authorized agency. It means they are just utilizing the primary data for their further utilization or interest. Over here, when any agency uses the data collected by any other agency or investigator, it means already any other authorized agency or investigator has collected those data and they are just utilizing those data for their own interest, then that is called secondary data. Okay. For example, the example I have given over here, that is UNO, At present, it is just known as United Nation. Previously, it was known as UNO, that is United Nation Organization. So, UN is just utilizing the data, whatever is being collected by the population census, that is the death rate and birth rate of the country that has been recorded by the Registrar General of India. So it is just utilizing the data that has been collected by an authorized agency or investigator. So it is called secondary data. Now, after understanding the meaning of primary data and secondary data, let us find out the difference in between primary data and secondary data. In your textbook, it is given in sentence form. I have divided it into two parts so that it would be easily understandable to you. And in very short way, easy explanation I have mentioned over here. First point, that is data is original. Naturally, primary data is directly collected from the sources. Suppose in population census, they are moving door to door to collect the data of each and every citizen of our country. So that data is trustworthy, is original data. While they are not original because they are manipulating as per their own interest. So secondary data may not be original while the primary data are original. The second one point, that is obtained from units under inquiry and obtained from primary data. Primary data are obtained from the units from which the inquiry is to be done. It means the main source from which the data is to be collected. From there only the data is collected by primary data. But in case of secondary data, they are obtained not from the direct sources, but they are indirectly obtaining the data from the primary sources. Okay. Next one, third point, that they are in raw form, because whatever the data they are collecting, that is at a mass, very big scale. So they are just collecting the data that is in raw form, and that raw form is classified and in tabulated form. It means in table form or classification of that raw data is being done by secondary data. So whatever the data, primary data is in raw form, and whatever the secondary data, that is in classified and tabulated form. Okay. Now the fourth point, that is large amount of time, money and energy. You can easily understand, if the population census is being calculated, then it takes a lot time in collection of data, because from door to door for each area wise, and then afterwards collection of that data. So it takes much time, money and energy to collect the sources from the basic data, to collect the data from the basic sources. So more time, energy and money is being consumed in case of primary data. While in case of secondary data, comparatively less time, money and energy will be required, because it is just utilizing the data provided by the primary sources. Okay. Now the last and important point, that is they are more reliable, and in case of secondary data they are less reliable. It is understood because they are collected from the basics or the main sources. That's why they are more reliable and trustworthy data, and the data that is secondary data, that are less reliable, because they are just utilizing the data of the primary sources, and they are manipulating, and even they are making certain amount of changes according to their own interest or according to their own motives. So they are less reliable compared to primary data. So students, I hope you have understood these points. If required, you can note down these points in your notebooks for your further reference. That's all for today, students. In the next video lecture, we'll be understanding the methods of collecting the primary data. I hope you have understood these many points, whatever I explained in this first video lecture of class 11th. Till then, goodbye, keep practicing, stay blessed.